Hey everyone, in this video tutorial, I'm going to show you how to set up a simple contact form on your website using PHP and jQuery, and specifically AJAX. And we'll be using AJAX because what will happen is that instead of sending the user to another page once you fill out the form, it's going to process everything behind the scenes. So it's not going to change pages when they click on the submit button. I'll run you through that later. Basically, right now, I have a plain empty folder called AJAX Form on my computer. I also have the website or the page loaded up in Google Chrome with absolutely nothing in there, as you can see. Now, what I'm doing to run this off my computer is I'm using a system called XAMPP. Okay, so it's a piece of software that you can download for free, and it just looks like this. And it's basically like an Apache and MySQL database that runs off your own computer. And once you've installed it, you can basically use it like this, localhost, and that will actually run off your computer. I've actually set it up a bit differently, so don't worry about my setup, but if you install XAMPP, it will probably just be localhost and then whatever folder you put in the htdocs folder. But I don't want to confuse this tutorial too much, so I might do something for XAMPP in another tutorial. In this tutorial, I'm going to be using Sublime Text. I'm also going to be using Bootstrap to make the form look a bit better, but we'll start with the basics now. So what I'm going to do is open up my text editor, which is Sublime Text, and start coding. You can see in Sublime Text, I'm opened up in my project in the AJAX Form folder, and I'm going to create a few files. Firstly, I'm going to create an index.php folder. Secondly, I'm going to create a send.php folder, and that's where you're going to store all the logic to send the actual form. I'm also going to create a style sheet, and that is basically for any design changes we want to do. And let's get started. So the first thing we want to do is go into index.php and set up the actual form. So in Sublime Text, there's a shortcut for that, and I can just type HTML and then tab, and then it creates an HTML document. I'm just going to make the title my test form, and we'll go into the body of the document and create a basic form. Okay, so open the form tags, close the form tags, do input type equals text, and this one will be your name. Okay, so we'll put a label here and we'll do your name. And then we'll also put another one called your email. Actually, we'll make it text type is email. So input type equals email, and we'll put your email. And then we'll put a text area for them to type some information. So let's just do text area and put another label, which will just be your inquiry. And we'll save that. Now, if I actually go into the page and refresh it, you'll see that it looks like this. It's very, very unformatted, but it's in its simplest form. What we'll then do is we'll add a submit button. So button type equals submit, and we'll type it, we'll make it send inquiry. Okay, so there we go. Now that we have our form fields that people can actually fill out when they look at the actual page, we want to actually assign some names to these fields so that when we pass it to PHP or to the send.php page, that it knows what variables are what. So let's make the name form. We'll call that your name. Name equals your name. The email field will be just your email. And the text area, which is for your inquiry, will just be your inquiry. And we will then save that. And if we refresh the page, nothing has changed at all. But basically now, when we submit the form, send.php can then grab that information, and we can assign the information put in each one of these fields to their own variable in send.php. So now we've done that, let's go to send. Actually, before we do that, we need to actually assign the form, so when it's actually submitted, to submit the data to send.php. So what we do there is we do form method equals post, and the target, not the target, sorry, the action is send.php. So now when I go on here and I press send inquiry, it will actually send me to send.php, but send.php isn't set up yet, so it will just take you to a blank page. Let's go now to send.php, And let's receive this data that is in the form and then convert them to variables so then we can use them in our email that we're going to send to the administrator of the website. So to do that, we'll open the PHP tags and do $, let's just do name equals post your name. Now, this post variable is basically a global variable that stores the data that's been submitted, and it can tell what data is what by adding the name that you've assigned to each field. So right now, the new variable that I've created, which is called name, is now the information that I've typed into that your name field, and then after it's submitted, it stores it in here. Okay, then we'll do email equals post, and we called it your email, and then we'll do inquiry equals post your inquiry. So now if I actually just echo out your name, what I'll do is I'll refresh this and I'll type in Sean, that's my name, and we'll hit send inquiry, and you'll notice that it's taken me to send.php and it's told me what I've typed into that form. Now what we want to do now is we want to check if anything has been submitted, and if the fields are empty, then it will divert us back to the form page. If they're not empty, it will continue going with the script and emailing out the actual information that's been filled out on the form. So what you need to do is you just need to go down here and type in validation, and I will do if empty name. So if the variable name is empty and has nothing in it, then what we want to do is we just want to change the header or redirect the user back to the index.php page, and we'll exit the script. And then we'll do the same for the email, and we will also do the same for the inquiry. Okay, so now if I go to the form and I don't fill out anything, it's just going to divert me back to the main page. We'll add an extra little tag here. So this will be error equals name, this will be error equals email, and this will be error equals inquiry. And this will help us so that we can show error messages. So I'll refresh that now, and if I hit send inquiry and the name isn't filled out, it will come back to that page with error equals name. Then we can fill out the name, and you'll notice that it will do error equals email. So it will keep doing it until everything is filled out, and then it will work. Well, because I set this field to be an email field, input type equals email, your browser automatically knows it's not a correct email and will actually prompt you to put in a proper email before it submits. Okay, so once that's done, once your validation is done, and I would highly recommend every form has some validation, because you don't want people just spamming your website and pressing submit 50 times and you getting 50 blank emails. So that's your basic form of validation. And also another good thing to do, just some real basic, so stop people from putting some, injecting tags into your inquiry. Just do strip tags around the variable that gets sent from the form, and that will just make sure it takes out any HTML tags or any JavaScript that they've attached if they're trying to do any malicious emailing to you. So now we've passed the data over, we've done our basic validation, and then what we want to do is we actually want to send an email with that information to whichever email you want to. Now to do that in PHP, you can do it manually, but it's a bit of a pain. So what we can do is we can use a script called PHP Mailer. Now PHP Mailer can be found on Google, and you just need to go to GitHub, PHP Mailer, and there are a few ways to install it. Now, with PHP Mailer, the best way to install it would be using a program called Composer. If you're running Windows 10 or Windows 7, because I'm running it right now, you need to download Composer. So it would be, I think it's getcomposer.org, yep. And you would just need to go to download and click download the composer setup.exe file. And what that will do is it will download onto your computer. You just need to install it, and then Composer will be installed on your computer. And I'll show you how to use Composer now. So make sure you install this first. Now with PHP Mailer, we want to install this into our project. So we need to actually go into our command prompt. So let's go to our command prompt. and let's go to our folder where our project is situated. So I know that my folder where it's situated is in my XAMPP folder, and then htdocs, and then tutorials, and then AJAX form. And that's where my project is. And then all you need to do is you just need to go into this GitHub page and copy this here and paste it in, and then press enter. What that's going to do is it's actually behind the scenes going to download all the files that you require for PHP Mailer to work in your project. And then all you need to do is just include a little PHP script which will then automatically reference PHP Mailer in your project. So we'll just wait for that to install, probably take about 30 seconds to a minute to install. Okay, now that Composer is installed, let's just go back to our folder, and you'll notice that we have a couple more files in here now. We have our vendor folder, which basically has the PHP Mailer code in there, and it also has a Composer file. Make sure you keep all these because these are very important. But now that we've used Composer to install PHP Mailer, as you can see it's in there, all we need to do is include auto load. So you can actually do that. Oops, sorry about that. All you need to do is scroll down and you can see an example of this. So what you need to do is just copy this information here, go back into your project, and let's paste it in there. Okay, and we'll copy these use PHP Mailer lines and put them right at the top of the script. Okay, and then you'll notice that this is actually telling it to require vendor/autoload.php, and that's all you need to do. Now that we've done that, we just need to add the PHP Mailer information to say where we want the email to be sent, how we want it to be sent, who the recipient is, etc. So to do that, again, just need to go back to the GitHub page and you'll see an example of it here. And I already have a working example, so I'm just going to copy and paste it. So let's just go here. My bad. Actually, what I'll do is I'll just copy it from here and we'll go step by step. So let's just copy all of this and paste it into our project. Okay. Now, the first part is asking us to choose an SMTP host. So with any mail sending facilities, what you can do is use your PHP sender, or you can actually use an SMTP service like SendGrid or Amazon or any of those systems as well. In my case, I'm going to use SendGrid to send my emails just for the purpose of this tutorial. So I know the credentials for SendGrid are smtp.sendgrid.net. I also know my username, which I'll put in here now, and my password. And I know SendGrid uses TLS, but obviously you can change that to SSL or whatever you'd like. You can also change the port, which I know SendGrid uses 587. So now, whenever an email is sent, it will actually send it through SendGrid. Now, when we go further down, you can see the recipients. Now, these are all different types of things you can do. You can add a CC, you can add a BCC, you can add a reply to, all that stuff. I'm just going to remove that because for this tutorial, I don't think we need that. And we will just use one recipient. So this is the sender and this is the recipient. So let's just do a test. The set from will be, let's just do another email of mine. And I'll just put my name as Mr. Digital, and then add address, we'll put it to my accounts at mrdigital.com.au. And you don't actually have to put a name in there. That's the recipient's name, but it's probably not even needed. Now you can add attachments as well. That's probably a bit more advanced for this particular tutorial. I'll take that away. And then we can see the content of the actual email. So the content will be, here is the subject right now. That's the subject that will be sent. But what we want to do is we want to make it our own subject. So let's just say website website inquiry from, and then we put a full stop and then name. That's the name of the person that when they've submitted the form, it grabs that, adds it into that variable, and then we make that variable the actual subject in the subject. And then the body. Now with the body, right now it's just got one line, so we probably want to make that a bit bigger. So to do that, what we have to do is we just have to create a new variable, and let's just call it body, and we will then do it we'll do equals and then add nothing into it. So we'll create the variable, and then what we'll do is do body dot equals, and then we'll add to that variable. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the name of the actual person. So let's just say, dear admin, you have received an inquiry from, and then we'll put dot name, name, not Sean. And then let's go down to another line, do body dot equals, and then we'll do name dot name, and then we'll do body dot. Actually, you know what? We'll do it in a different way. Let's just do it like this: body equals, and then the double inverted commas, and that will allow us to put variables right into the text. So it makes it easier. So, dear admin, you have received an inquiry from name, and then we just need to do we can do HTML break, because this is an HTML email. As you can see up here, mail is HTML true, and then we'll do so the inquiry is as follows, and then another break, and then we'll put name, and then name, and then phone, and then actually it's not phone, it's email. I'm sorry, I'm making a lot of mistakes on this tutorial, but hopefully you're still following. And then inquiry will just be inquiry. And we'll do some breaks between them as well. We'll do a double break between the email and the actual inquiry. With the email, we can make it an actual HTML email tag. So a ref mail to email, and then email, like that. Okay. And now what we have to do is we just grab this variable, body, and we set that to be the body of the email. So we'll just do body, mail, body equals body, which is that. And then the alternative body would be non-HTML. So what you would do is you would do basically strip tags body. Okay, and that's about it. So let's give this a go. Hopefully it works. I haven't tested it, so let's get out of that, and we'll go back to our form, and let's fill it out. So I'm going to do Sean. My email will just be whatever, and hello, this is a test. And let's try and send it now. You'll see that I have an issue here on line 69. It says unexpected mail to. So if we go to line 69, you'll see that, yeah, well, it probably doesn't like that mail to for some reason. So what we probably need to do, let's just give this a go. Nope, still doesn't like it. I'm just going to take this out, this HTML tag out completely, and we'll just refresh it again. Okay, you'll notice that the loading image is moving, so it's actually doing something. And if I actually go to my email, we'll see if an email has been received. You'll notice here that we got a debug message, which is basically a message that PHP Mailer gives to you, and you can switch it off once you've made sure it works. So you'll notice here now, if I check my email, I should very well get an email from myself, which I will just make sure, and I have received the email. So as you can see, this is all okay. So we'll switch debug off now. So we'll just put SMTP debug to 0, and we'll go back and we'll try and send it again, and it will then go into its loading again. So basically right now it's just trying to send the email. As you can see, message has been sent, so that there's no problem there. So now that we've got the basic functionality happening of the form, we want to pretty it up a bit. Now to pretty it up, the best thing to do would be to use a system called Bootstrap, and it's just a foundation. It just makes it easier to kind of scaffold your designs and make them look good much quicker. So to do that, we just need to go to Bootstrap, do a search for Bootstrap 4, and you can see Bootstrap 4 Alpha. And I know that they have a beta now, I believe. So we'll just wait for Bootstrap site to load. I don't know what's taking so long. Okay, and as you can see here, there's a new version of Bootstrap 4, and let's download it. Actually, there's a Bootstrap CDN. So what we can do is we just go here, copy the CSS, and go into our index.php and paste it in the head. And then we'll also go to grab all the jQuery and stuff like that that Bootstrap requires to run, and we'll paste it in our head as well. Oops, okay. So now we have jQuery Slim. We don't want Slim, we want the main jQuery. So I'll just make sure that that works. Yep, that works. We don't want Slim because we're going to use AJAX to send the actual emails. So I don't think Slim actually allows AJAX. Okay, so now that we have Bootstrap installed, if we refresh, you'll see that things have changed slightly already because the Bootstrap styles have come into play. We then want to just link our style.css, and that will allow us to style it a bit more. Okay, now in the actual HTML or in the PHP document, what we want to do is we want to put our form into a container, into our Bootstrap container, which gives it a bit more, makes it a bit more centered. As you can see, I've just refreshed that, it's made it centered. And then if we go here, we'll add, we'll do div class equals form group. And we do that for every single input there is. Okay, and even for the text area. And also for the button. Now also with the actual inputs, we want to give them a class. So we'll do input class equals form control, which is another Bootstrap style, which just makes the fields look better. And we'll also add that to your text area. And if we refresh that now, you should see that the fields kind of come up like this, which is nicer. We'll add some placeholders as well. So placeholder equals your name and placeholder equals your email, and also placeholder equals your inquiry. If we refresh it now, you'll see that the placeholders are there. Now let's make our form look a bit better. We'll give the form an ID of contact form, and we'll then go into our style sheet and we will then reference some styles to that. So let's push the form down maybe about 200 pixels, and let's make it a bit smaller. So let's make the width about 500 pixels as opposed to what it is now. And then let's center it. So display equals block and then margin 0 auto, and refresh it. And you'll see that it's there now, and it's actually taken the margins up again. So let's move margin top down to there. Okay, let's maybe give it a border of gray, and let's give it some padding of 20 pixels. Okay, and maybe give it a background as well. Okay, so it doesn't look that good, but I guess just for the purpose of this tutorial, you can see how easy it is to customize the design. We'll also make the button inside the form 100%. So we'll do contact form button width 100%. We'll give it a color of lighter gray, background of lighter gray. And we will also, put the color of the text as white. We'll just refresh that now. You'll see. We'll also give it a cursor equals pointer, so that when you highlight it, the actual cursor changes to a hand. And let's just give it a bit more padding, just to make it a bit better. So make it padding of 10 pixels. Okay, so that's about it for now with the customizing. And with Bootstrap, it's automatic. It's automatically responsive. So if you make it smaller, actually, it's not going to be responsive because I need to make this max width 100%. Okay, so let's refresh that, and you'll notice that now it's just fully responsive. Okay, so now let's fill it out. Sean at mrdigital.com.au, and we'll do test. Hit it, and it will make you wait a bit. You probably don't even realize it's sending, so that's why we're going to use AJAX. It makes it look a bit better and a bit easier for people to understand. So now that we've got the basic form happening, what we'll do is we'll just add in also a phone option for people. So let's just go back here and we'll copy the email one, for example, and we'll just make a new one called your phone. Make input type equals tell. And if you give it that, you can use text obviously, but if you use tell, what happens is that when someone goes on their actual mobile phone or iPad or something, it will actually show them the number pad instead of the keyboard. So it just makes it easier. Let's do your phone as a placeholder, and we'll make name as your phone. And then go to send.php and just add your new variable, which is phone. And we'll copy this one and we'll do your phone there as well. And we'll just do the validation as well, just to make it all okay. And then we'll do error phone. Yeah, so just to keep everything consistent, we just want to make sure that everything's validated. Now that phone has been added, we also want to add it to our inquiry form. So if we just go down and do another break, and we'll do phone, and then we'll do phone there as well. Now, the reason why the PHP tags are actually allowable here is because we're using the double inverted commas, and it automatically thinks that anything with a $sign in front of it is a PHP variable. So that's why it's working. Now that we've done that, if we refresh the page, you'll see your phone is there now. So now what we want to do is, instead of making the send inquiry button go to the send.php file through just a normal HTTP request, we want to use AJAX so that AJAX does it behind the scenes and you're not changed from one page to another. So it's just a bit more seamless. Now to do that, we need to go into our index.php file and we need to go to the bottom of the page and we need to add some JavaScript into there. But before we even do that, we need to validate this. Now, if we're going to be using AJAX, we need to validate this so that when they type in their details and they don't fill out the whole form, that they don't just get sent back to the page and everything's blank again. We're going to use AJAX to validate that as well. And what we use to do that is we use jQuery validation. So to look, if you go on Google and you look for something called jQuery validation, it's called the jQuery validation plugin. And for this tutorial, I'm just going to get the actual CDN for it. So if we do jQuery validation CDN on Google, just click on the top one that comes up, jQuery validate CDN.js, and we can get the, let's just get this one, go back to our project. Oops. And let's go to the top and add this to the project. Script source equals jQuery validate min.js. And now what we want to do, now that we have that in there, we want to use that to validate our fields. So the first thing we need to do is go to the bottom and type in script, and script again, and then do document.ready function And then what we want to do is we want to, oops, I've done something wrong there. Yes, I have. Inside document ready function, so basically this will load whatever, when the document's ready, it will load whatever JavaScript is inside here. We want to use the jQuery validation code. So to do that, we just do $ and the name of the field, so it's contact form, that's the ID of the field, .validate. And let's just do that. And if we actually go back to our form and we fill it out and it's blank, nothing's going to happen. But then if we actually tell the input that we want it to be required, so let's just go required there, and then we do send inquiry, you'll notice that this required messages come up, but that's actually your browser, so that means something's not working. So if I go into the console, I can see that the jQuery is having looks like a sort of problem there. So integrity attribute. So if I go back to the code, I believe it might be something to do with the code that I've put in there. So let's just take out that integrity thing there and refresh it again. And now that when we hit send inquiry, you'll notice that it just says this field is required. So let's go back and I'll add required to the end of the field actually. We'll do required for your email, your phone, and also for your inquiry. So now if we refresh it, go to send inquiry, all of these fields are required before the form can actually be submitted. And once the actual field is submitted, we can then add some information into, or add some code into this tag here, this validation tag, so it does it after the validation is successful. Okay, so now that we have set up the validation, we need to do something called a submit handler. And what that does is it basically tells the form that once the submit is successful to do something. Now what we want to do is we want to grab the data from the form so that it can be submitted through AJAX. Now let's just try something as an example. So I'm going to do an alert and we'll just do success. So it's just going to alert success once the fields are all filled out. So we'll refresh. If we hit send inquiry, nothing happens. That field is required. This field is required. Type in the phone number, type in an inquiry, and then hit send inquiry. You'll notice that this comes up, alert success. So now we know that works. So firstly, as I mentioned before, we need to grab the data from the form. To make it very easy so we don't have to grab each individual item, we just need to set a variable called form, for example, and then grab the data, serialize the data from the form. So the form is called the contact form, ID, sorry, is the contact form. And we will just get contact form, serialize. And that's going to grab all the data that's submitted in that form. Then what we want to do is we want to grab the URL, so the action, so that it knows to go to send.php. So let's just do var URL equals, and the same thing, it's contact form again, dot attribute, and then action. So it's basically going to store this inside this variable called URL. The last one will be method, but I don't think we need to do method. We can just put that in the which is post. So we can put that in the AJAX field straight away. So to do AJAX, what we need to do is $.AJAX, and then we do type equals post, URL equals URL, because that's the URL there. And with post, we actually have to do it like this, sorry. So the URL of where it's going to post to is the URL that's stored in that variable. And then we want to do data equals form, which is this information here. And then on success, we just want a function to happen. And then we'll just put alert email sent. Okay, so let's try this. Hopefully there's no errors. I'll know straight away if there are errors if I try and validate. And if it validates, that means there are no errors. So let's try it. Sean at Mr. Digital, phone number, inquiry, send inquiry. Now you'll notice nothing is happening in the background. Like it just looks like it's doing nothing. But then if you wait a second or two, you'll notice that that message just came up. And I'll just do it again so you can see it. I was just mucking around then. Email sent. Okay, that's cool. So it did it in the background through AJAX. But what if we want to make it look like it's actually doing something? Because right now it's just, what's it doing? Really nothing. So we can do a few things here. We can create like a screen that overlays the whole page showing that it's loading. Now to do that, we can go to a site called, I think it's on Google. On Google, we just type in, I don't know why I typed in Google in the search, sorry about that. Loaders, just preloaders actually. And there should be a page called preloaders.loading.io actually. That's a pretty cool site. And you can create your own loader, but I'm just going to get anything. So let's just download this one that's here, and we'll download it as a GIF file. And I think I have an account already. So I'll just try and log in. Yep, I've already got an account. So we'll just download this loader into a GIF file format. Okay, I've just downloaded that. I'm going to go into my folder, my project folder, and just create a new folder called images and place that spinner in there. And just rename it to say something like loading. Okay, now we have the image, the loading image that we want. We can then display it on our page. So let's just do image source equals images loading.gif, and we'll give it a class of loading. Okay, now that's done. If we refresh the page, you should see that loading image there. But that's not good enough. We want it to look a bit better than that. So firstly, we need to hide it. So if we do style, actually, if we go into our style sheet and we do loading, display equals none, this will make sure that it does not display, but it will only display when we tell it to in jQuery. So to do that, we've given it a class of loading. So now, once it submits, we want to show the loading button. So loading.show. Okay, so let's refresh it. Let's fill out the form. Send inquiry. You'll see that it's loading now. And that will load until it will just keep loading. It's not even going to stop loading when the email gets sent. As you can see, it will just stay like that. We want it to stop loading when the email gets sent. So let's grab that code, and where it says email sent, go underneath it and do loading hide. Okay, so let's refresh it again, type in the information, send inquiry. You'll notice now the email has been sent. When I click OK, that loading button should then go away. Now what we could also do is make it so that the field gets reset after, the form gets reset after the inquiry has been sent through correctly. So what we do is we just go here and we do $ contact form trigger reset. Okay, let's refresh it again. Let's try it again. It's loading, so it doesn't. So I know something's going on. Okay, and you'll notice the form has been reset. The loading GIF has gone away, and that's all. That's pretty much all you need to do. Now we can fancy it up even more. Now instead of that button that comes up saying email sent, why don't we use something that looks pretty cool like Sweet Alert 2? That's another jQuery plugin which basically shows you an alert which looks much nicer. So if you look at a normal alert, it just looks like that, like the other alert I had. If you use Sweet Alert 2, it comes up like this, which is pretty cool. So let's install Sweet Alert 2 on a CDN. So we'll just grab the all.min.js and go up here and install it. Script source equals JavaScript. Okay, and also get the CSS. It's a bit messy, I know, but this is just for the tutorial purposes, and you might want to clean it up when you use it for an actual project. So now I have SweedAlert 2 installed. We can just go on their page and we can have a look at all the types of error or messages we can put on here. And what I'll do is I'll probably, let's have a look, probably use one with a timer. So this one's got a timer. So let's grab that, copy that code, go into your project, and instead of alert email sent, paste that SweedAlert 2 code in there, and we'll just do center. We'll do type equals success, which is fine, and then we'll put title email sent. And the time will be 1 second, which is 1,000 milliseconds. And we'll refresh that, and I'll type in my details, phone number, inquiry, send inquiry. Let's see what happens here. There we go, email sent, and everything works perfectly. Now, as I said before, what we can do is we can do an overlay so that when it loads, it just overlays the whole screen. So to do that, we need to create a little div called, let's just call it div ID overlay. Okay. And go into our style sheet and we'll create a new thing called overlay. And let's give the overlay a position of absolute, top 0, left 0, width 100%, height equals 100%. We're not going to do absolute, we'll do fixed, sorry. Fixed will be better. And we'll also give it a Z index of 999, which is like, we'll bring it right to the top of everything else. We'll make the background gray, like a dark gray. And let's refresh the screen, and you'll notice that now the whole screen is gray, so that overlay's taken over it. But what we'll do is we'll actually display equals none right now, because we only want that overlay to happen when the form is actually being submitted. So like we did before, I'm going to remove that loading.gif file, and I'm going to then change this to overlay. I'll go back into the style sheet. Instead of making it a solid gray color, we'll do like a RGBA 000 0.3. So that it's going to make it a black background, but with an opacity of 0.3, so you can see through it. We'll refresh it now, and we'll fill out the details. And you'll notice that now the screen has just gone gray, but you can't click anywhere. It disables everything until the email has been sent, and then it comes back to normal again, which is cool. But also we can actually add that loading.gif into there. So we want to use it as a background. So we'll make it like background URL images loading.gif, and then we do background repeat, no repeat, background position center. I believe this will work, but I don't know 100%, so we'll just try it. And as you can see, it's not working, and I'll just see why it's not working. So it's actually saying that, or actually not giving me an error at all. But I believe it could be because we're using the background, we're overriding the background here. So let's just take that out and put that there. Let's try that again. There we go. Beautiful. You can make it smaller, you can make it bigger, it will work every time. So that's about it. That is how you create a contact form for your website and make it so that PHP automatically validates server-side, just in case, say, the person doesn't have JavaScript installed or JavaScript enabled on their browser. If they don't use AJAX, it will still submit, but it will still validate through the server. It uses PHP mailer to send the email to you, the administrator, and it also uses a cool AJAX overlay and jQuery validation to validate it on the browser side before it's even submitted to the server. One last thing before I go, you'll notice that we have these little fields here. We can actually style them to make them look a bit better. So to do that, you just need to, if we right click on it, you'll see the actual class is called error. So let's go into our style.css, sorry, and we'll do error, background equals red, color equals white, and we'll refresh it. And if we try that, it kind of looks a bit strange. So we're going to fix that up a bit. What we want to do is we firstly want to make it so that that's only a label error. So we'll do label.error. Okay, and we'll give it a bit of a padding as well. Padding of, say, what, 5 pixels? Yep. And then we'll also make the field border go red as well, just to emphasize it a bit more. And to do that, you would just do, I believe, input.error, and then border 2px solid red, and that should be about it, I think. There we go. As you can see now, if it hasn't been filled out, it goes red. But you can also make the success, when you actually fill it out, you can make it a different color as well. So if we look here, it should be something like, where are we? I think it might be something like input.success. And we can make that green. No, that didn't work. I was really under the impression that you could actually do a success class as well, and I don't have the time right this minute to add that onto this tutorial, but if I do find out, I'll put it on the notes of this video. So that's about it. Now you can basically create your own AJAX contact form on your own website and gets emailed directly to you. If you have any questions about this tutorial, just let me know. I know it was a bit sloppy and I made a few errors, and hopefully I didn't confuse you and you made it to the end of this tutorial. Good luck and happy coding. Thank you.